Well, Jim, that was the AEW news. So why don't we move from there to the actual artifact, AEW Dynamite this past week from where were they again? They were in your old stomping grounds in the Mid-Atlantic, but I forget which town.
They were in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is, by the way, in the biggest year for business that Crockett ever had, the only town has still never sold a ticket. Winston-Salem's only like 30 miles from Greensboro. We were always in Greensboro. People loved to go to the Greensboro Coliseum. The houses were massive. We'd go to Winston-Salem once in a while. And I mean, but anyway, times have changed. I'm sure they had 10,000 people in Winston-Salem, didn't they?
Oh, I don't think it was that many. No. Hold on, I'll get you the
maybe
number.
5,000 people, certainly in Winston-Salem, with Ricky Steamboat on the card. One would think that, one of Carolina's favorite sons, they'd do a big house there.
Well, I don't know how much in advance they announced that Ricky Steamboat was going to be there, to be fair.
Oh, I think it was 2 or 3 days. People had all the time in the world to walk to the box office and buy a ticket.
Well, I have here, Jim, according to WrestleTix, as of Wednesday, shortly before the show, there were 2,579 tickets distributed. Wow, this is a big building. I'm looking at the picture here. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And I'm sorry, but this show just, to me, it made everything that's wrong with what they're doing come into sharp crystal focus. They're in the ratings fight of their lives or whatever. So no open, just here comes MJF. Safe shot every time, right? Let's just drop the cow, throw the big guns at him. Problem is, MJF is wrestling Kyle Felcher. Now, Brian, I'm about to relate to you the way that this thing is gone, and I want you to stop me if I misrepresent something or get something wrong, okay?
That's a deal. Okay.
Okay, so Will Ospreay signed sometime late last year with AEW and came in and said, I'm going to finish up in New Japan. I'll be back in a couple months. And then the people are like, yes, we love Will Ospreay. And you could tell they just wanted to see him. He comes back in a couple months when he finishes from New Japan and promptly signs with the heel manager, Don Fallis, who's been running a heel organization in this company for fucking 2 or 3 years.
I think that may be wrong.
Okay.
Was he with Callis before he came on full time? Wasn't he already kind of like a member who, whenever he would pop up on their TV show every now and then, he was aligned with Don Callis?
Well, and that you may have caught me in a loophole, but nevertheless, he comes in and he signs with Don Fallis. We got that part right. So now you've got Will Ospreay, who the people fucking love, signed by the heel manager and in the heel group. And then the first thing that he does, at the behest apparently of the heel manager, is to fight all the other members of the heel manager's group and beat them. Including poor Hobbs, who we've never seen again. He put him out permanently, and it used to cost managers money when one of their own men put one of their other men out of fucking action. So then, after doing that, after beating all the other heels, including Kyle Felcher, then he asked if Don would let him out of the family because he didn't want to be in it, and Don said okay. Now, meanwhile, MJF was a babyface, but he turned heel, and so he should now be fighting babyfaces they really like to put more heat on him. But last week, Kyle Felcher came out and said that he was Will Ospreay's best friend, and he told Don Fallis that he's going to fight MJF, and Don said okay. So now MJF is the top heel, but Kyle is a middle card babyface in a heel group with a heel manager, that then proceeded to kick the shit out of MJF for much of 20 fucking minutes. And MJF had to do every possible thing that he knew how to do or ever has done in a ring to beat him. So how the fuck is MJF going to last 5 minutes with Will Ospreay? Third base. Is that an Abbott and Costello fucking deal?
I don't know.
What sense does any of this make?
I think they're trying to make Fletcher. If I had to guess, I would say that Will Ospreay really is Kyle Fletcher's best friend, and Will Ospreay wants to work with Kyle Fletcher, and that's been the direction they were teasing, and that's the direction they were going, and they're trying to make Kyle Fletcher.
But wait a minute, how are they going to work against each other if they're best friends and Kyle Fletcher is fucking taken up for Will Ospreay by fighting MJF?
Clearly there's going to be a turn, and clearly Don Callis will be involved.
Oh my God, I'm glad it's all clear to you.
Now, with that said, he's never, I said this the other day, he never won a match that I remember ever on TV.
Never.
With that said, I thought he was great here. I thought this was a great match.
Yes, he is. He can do all the moves.
And he's got size, and he's young, so he's only going to fill out more. I came away from this terribly impressed with Kyle Fletcher. I thought he looked incredible here.
Is there a middle ground between pickup basketball on the playground and the NBA Finals?
College.
Okay, then why don't you send the fucking guy to college first? He is a flunky who has looked like shit for fucking months and months and never won a match. Now suddenly, he makes himself over with a new look where he looks like a centerfold in the Scandinavian edition of Blue Boy magazine. But at least he's trying. But suddenly he's going 20 minutes fucking toe-to-toe with the top heel in the fucking company to set up the top heel wrestling Kyle Fletcher's big brother, a.k.a. the better, more accomplished fucking star. But
again, I'm not justifying it. I enjoyed the match. I'm going to say that without complaint. But
yes, start pushing the fucking guy and giving him wins and putting some credibility into him and let him get better and expose his new personality. Instead of, they're making MJF earn whatever millions Tony is paying him by having these, and I'm sorry, it was also an indie level match in terms of Fletcher just has never been to fucking proper training system or whatever. He's doing all this modern shit that's the same shit as everybody else does. He gets Canadian destroyered and just stands up and clotheslines the guy. He's got potential athletically. He's a long fucking way off. Because all the rest of them have potential athletically. MJF knows all the heel tricks. He gets a reaction on shit. He builds stuff so it gets a reaction instead of just doing shit, you know, like everybody else does. But when he has to have a Starrcade 86 main event with every goddamn middling guy on the card, he doesn't raise them to his level. They lower him to theirs. If they were going to have this match, cut the time in half, shine Kyle up at the beginning, let MJF cut him off and get some heat enough for Kyle to make a fucking comeback, and then boom, convincing win with no fucking shenanigans, and then tease you're going to give him a brain buster on the goddamn concrete and break his neck like you did Garcia, and out comes Ospreay. That does something for MJF and general business and Kyle. He had a good match for 10 minutes and hung in there, but let's face it, it's not his time yet. Ospreay's the guy, and MJF took advantage of the youngster. When the top guy can't beat this guy without a bazooka, it doesn't do anything for MJF or their general business. And Kyle can do all the moves, but he punches like a girl and he dresses like he's in reform school. He just still looks like he's a fucking teenager.
The punches looked really bad, I will say that.
Yes. And that's the same thing as everybody else is doing. He climbs up to the top rope, takes 15 seconds to get his balance, and backflips off without looking. And there, poor MJF is standing there to catch him almost because he nearly missed him. They fought on the floor. They fought in the crowd. Fletcher, Felcher, whichever his name is, kicks out of a hammerlock DDT, stands up after a Canadian destroyer. Then it gives MJF a leaping tombstone and gets a 2 count. It's not the match that MJF has with the fucking veteran professional. It's the one he has where he's trying to get these goofballs shit in, even though he knows it's stupid. But he's supposed to get these guys shit in because he's being told to try to get them over, apparently. And then Phallus leaves color and goes to the ring and tosses a screwdriver to Kyle. The screwdriver again, and Kyle draws back and milks it, and then he looks and he's conflicted. You're going to stab a motherfucker or you're not. And again, if he was throwing him the dynamite diamond ring or a pair of brass knuckles or fucking blunt instrument or a slapjack or whatever, okay. But no, he's not going to fucking stab anybody with a screwdriver. You stupid fuckers. You fucking blithering simpletons. This is goddamn outlaw indie bullshit. Even goddamn people that used to go into business for themselves without care of what would happen. The Sheik wasn't going to stab anybody with a fucking screwdriver. But then he throws it down because he's a pussy. And is he a babyface or a heel? We don't know. MJF gives him a nut shot, a kangaroo kick, and brainbusters him 1, 2, 3. Why was the screwdriver necessary except it was a stupid thing they were doing with Don Phallus months ago? Nobody believes it. Nobody gives a shit. Again, leave out the leaping tombstone on MJF and getting a 2 count. And if Don wanted to come down, let him try to come and interfere in any kind of reasonable way that one might. And it can backfire or whatever, but why are you having the heel manager try to make the baby face that's wrestling the top heel in the company cheat? What the fuck? Comment on anything before I go to the afterbirth.
Again, I like the match itself. I thought if this was the old days and you could take out a lot of the things that you just pointed out, like Don Callis, the screwdriver, this would have been a great match to make a guy. A young guy with some size, and the fans were into him. Can't say they weren't.
Why are we making Kyle Felcher 2 weeks before the fucking Wembley Stadium show that Ospreay and MJF are fucking main eventing? Why are we goddamn trying to have MJF make Felcher?
I guess that's the issue. It's the timing. It's when, if they're going to do something with him and Ospreay, and it certainly looks like that's what they're teasing, you got to think it's going to happen soon, maybe even at Wembley. So they're trying to get all this done now. Don Callis
manages pussies. One guy won't use his best move because he's fucking scared it'll hurt somebody. The other guy won't stab somebody with a screwdriver because he's scared it'll hurt somebody.
It'll come out that Don Callis is behind this whole thing. And I thought it was a good match, but I think the booking holes are a problem. And I said it before, MJF being used to make guys is not the way he should be used. He should just be interacting with main eventers. The other problem is there are no main eventers.
There are no main eventers. Well, there's one main eventer, Will Ospreay. Where was he during all this, you might ask? He was in the back, watching this match on a monitor very closely. And when MJF won with the brainbuster, he said, fuck it, I'm going out there. And he goes to try to leave the room, and the door has been barricaded. Brian, when he finally burst through the door, did you see what was barricading it?
Well, there were some cases there, but there were also a bunch of people standing in the hallway, it seemed like.
Well, there were a bunch of people on the hallway that if you'd have beat on the door and let me out, they might have done it. I said, let me out. They might have done it, but he didn't need to because the equipment cases that the door was barricaded with were on fucking wheels. Did you see that? He was acting like he was trying to push those equipment cases. That's for the lighting equipment. That's for cameras. That's for microphone, audio equipment, sensitive shit that has egg crates and different container things inside those things. But they're big enough that a standing adult can lean on them and not really bend over a lot. They would weigh hundreds of pounds, and they're hard-sided, and they do weigh hundreds of pounds. That's why they're on fucking wheels. And that's why one guy can easily, with one hand, push those equipment cases, because they're built that way. So he was trying to push open the door like, oh, it's barricaded. And then suddenly he gives the big push and the shit wheels off. It was all on wheels. The fuck? Whereas they should have used the forklift there instead of run through the fake wall. So then we go back to the ring with the camera, and MJF, instead of just taking the referee and just chucking him out of the ring, he takes the championship belt and he fucking knocks the referee out. And then he puts the ring on and he nails Felcher. And Felcher dropped and tried to get color, but it turned out to be a pap smear. And then MJF is pounding on poor old Felcher, who's bleeding like he's popped the most angry pimple that has ever existed on a man's forehead. And then MJF went for the Tiger Driver. And finally, and this has taken a while, so after Ospreay burst out of the room, he must have got lost. But finally, he hits the ring and MJF bails out and runs off. And Don gets in the ring and the doctor gets in the ring and everybody is checking. Felcher looked in better shape than Britt Baker when she did that big blade job. He had a small drippage of blood on his head. These other guys have been literally drenched in buckets of blood. And oh my God, this is, what the fuck? And why are we... This guy was a heel until last week, a mid-card at best heel that never won a match, and now we're supposed to feel so sorry for him because of what's been done to him while his buddy was trapped with cases with wheels on him. Help me.
I can't help you with any of that stuff. Like I said, I enjoyed the match, the booking around the match, and the booking around all this stuff with the Callis family and Will Ospreay and Fletcher is suspect.
Well, speaking of suspects, we had a video package on Jeff Jarrett and Bryan Danielson and their match that they're going to have later on tonight, and I will comment on that later on with that self-same match, because we got to get to the good stuff. Maria May wrestled Viva Vim.
Viva Van. Or Van. It was V-A-N.
Viva Van. Well, is she related to Theo Von?
Is she related to Viva Las Vegas?
How about Van Heflin? Van Johnson?
Van Helsing?
Van Hammer?
MC Hammer?
Von Raschke?
Oh, you went back to Von. I think that means I win.
Anyway, Maria won, and then she was presented with a gift-wrapped picture of Toni Storm hugging her, but it had "Die Maria Die" written on the back of it, and then Toni Storm hit the ring. They had a sloppy fight. They fought over the shoe. Aubrey Ed came in with the referees, and they had a big pull-apart. Why is Toni Storm dressed every week in the gas station outfit worn by Michael Myers in Halloween now?
Because she's crazy.
Well, she was crazy before, but she was at least dressed better.
Well, now she's in mourning.
Well, she better hurry up and get to the afternoon, because this is dragging. So then we come to one of the highlights of the program. The video, apparently, I think, because now Jungle Jackoff, old Jack Perry, he's messing around with Darby Allin. So Darby, being the avant-garde filmmaker, now is trying to do old Jungle Jackoff's videos with the artsy video effects, kind of like a non-scary version of the Wyatts. He's watching highlights of himself. Well, now can you deny that? It's what it is.
It's like the Nickelodeon version of the Wyatts, this video.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's watching highlights of himself on various screens, what he's been doing, and he's got a dramatic scripted voiceover that he's reading over the top of it. And suddenly, unless I mean, maybe part of this is the young kids and their art to the Sundance Film Festival type of thing. Maybe I'm not up on the modern day hidden meanings in these avant-garde videos, but I could swear just from a layman's point of view that I was watching this video on old Jack Perry and suddenly a Taco Bell commercial popped in the middle of it and just played right on out. Were they trying to lull us into some kind of false sense of security and then come back and tell us that it was Jungle Jack all along that's in cahoots with Taco Bell to screw Darby Allin? Or could this have been some type of, I don't know, a fuck up?
It was so weird because I'm like, well, that was short. And it just went to, but I was also thinking, oh, that was the end, but it was short. And then after the commercial, and then when it went right back to Jack Perry.
It goes back to the video.
This was hysterical. Everyone jumped on this. I thought at first this may have been just like my cable system. But then also after they went back to the Jack Perry video, the next thing to play was the Taco Bell commercial.
Yes, it played again. So you saw...
They got their money's worth.
You saw the first... At least they weren't placed like Domino's was that time in the bank-addicted drug robbers fucking pizza cutter match. You saw the Jungle Jack video. Then you saw the Taco Bell commercial in its entirety. Then they go back to the end of the Jungle Jack
it's still
video.
Playing. Yeah, it's still
We're
playing.
still playing. So he's got an axe and he's smashing all these monitors. And then a Wyatt-style goat mask pops up on one screen with the word scapegoat statics in. And then it goes to black for 10 seconds. And then the Taco Bell spot plays in its entirety all over again. And I think the Taco Bell spot may have given me less gas. I don't know. I mean, obviously something happened at Master Control. But I don't really know how you would do that on purpose if you tried. Unless they're completely unmanned now, is it all computerized and somebody entered the wrong numbers and there's no human being there sitting there to go, wait, this is not supposed to happen?
Fucking this whole Jack Perry run is so snake bit. That should be his real name. Snake bitten Jack.
Yeah, instead of scapegoat, snake bit.
Yeah. Who's going to be the scapegoat of the network for running this ad twice? Taco Bell's going to be happy. Oh, we got our bang for our buck. 2 for 1.
I swear to God, when they came back on the air, I thought for sure Sockface was going to have to say something like, ladies and gentlemen, Jack Perry is not affiliated with Taco Bell in any way. But they came back to a Darby Allin promo, and he didn't have the chance.
I thought at least they'd say there were some problems. We'll replay that video. They never even addressed it. They just kept going.
I think they considered themselves lucky that we didn't have to watch the whole thing. It may have helped the ratings. Is this the first time that there's ever been... They've done picture-in-picture during commercial breaks, right? But have they ever done a commercial break during their picture-in-picture?
You know, I thought Michael Cole used to be relatively abrupt on Raw, where he would just be like, you know, he's on the floor. Oh, okay, that's a commercial break, but this takes it to a whole new level.
Boom. Don't take them long to get to that money making.
How pissed off do you think Jack Perry was?
I could give two shits about him, but what do you think? Do you think they saw that on the monitor? Are they watching?
Tony's watching it. No. Tony pays attention to social media. So if something happens, he does know about it. Absolutely.
Well, but no, here's what I'm saying, or what I was going to try to say, and I was thinking about it as I was saying it. I bet you Tony at the gorilla position is watching the actual feed from the truck of the show. Somewhere in the truck, probably, they have a monitor of the live airing of the show as it's going out over the network. If I had to guess, I would say that's probably the way that it's set up. So Tony would have been seeing the video, but in the truck, they probably looked over at a monitor over in the corner and said, wait, what the fuck? And,
This is the setup, Jack Perry versus the Taco Bell Chihuahua in the future.
But the goddamn thing is, the Chihuahua's not going to be able to make weight. He's really going to have to cut. I don't think he can fucking do it. Well, that was that.
Should AEW take advantage of this and contact Taco Bell and say, hey, would you like to be involved in this Jack Perry Darby Allin feud? They could have a taco street fight or a taco truck fight or some kind of match with wrestlers. And of course, we could have at least, Jack Perry's mom. It's a tradition to have the mom show up for a street fight in AEW.
Was that why when Darby did the promo in the back when they came back from the break, he was wearing a pink terry cloth bathrobe because he was imitating a pink taco?
I don't know.
I mean, when I'm sitting there looking at it, and he said the hood is over his head. It's like a woman's pink terry cloth bathrobe with the hood over his head. And I wrote, all these people are just fucking strange. Just fucking strange.
I can't get past, I hate to go back to a few weeks ago, but I was talking to someone else about it the other day. When they had Darby drop down from the ceiling and they came out that they asked Dr. Martha Hart for, permission. Just the idea that the audacity of having that conversation.
Now, don't phrase it in that way, because
for her blessing in doing it, I guess.
If she was comfortable with it or what she thought of it, I can say, but
the audacity of having to ask her that is the way.
Well, yes, and just why not just not do it there? Why not do it in that instance? Why, because everybody's still talking about it.
Man, no one's talking about anything with that feud. The Young Bucks are in the middle of that feud. Has anyone brought them up? Yeah.
That's what they did, something like that, and everybody's not talking about it. Anyway, are we talking about Brian Keith versus Shapoopy? Shapoopy.
You could talk about this, Brian Keith versus Shibata.
Well, Jericho was on color and Big Bill was standing by and Shapoopy won, and then all the heels jumped him. Imagine that. All the heels jumped the guy after the match and got some shitty heat. And then Jericho was hitting him with the title belt. And then Hook's music began playing, and there is Brian Keith, okay, he's fairly minute. Chris Jericho has some size to him and cachet in the industry of being a wrestling star, and you got Big Bill 7 feet tall, and I've heard rumors that you can't teach that.
And you know what? He's in the best shape I've ever seen him in. Makes you think he wants to get back to WWE sometime soon, but...
Well, it makes...
Not just tall, jacked right now.
Yes, and it makes you think that that'd be the best place for him because Hook's music plays, and every single one of these three, the Giant, the Veteran, and Brian Keith, freeze and are scared of him. And when he hits the ring, Brian Keith bails out, he top ropes Bill, and then hits Jericho 100 times with bullshit forearms and body shots that looked... God damn it, Taz needs to have a long talk with that boy. And Jericho bailed out. And what the fuck? Again, meaningless. Now with mid-card talent, there's the match, then there's the heat after, then the music, then the run-in. And invariably something looks like shit, and it's over and over and over. And speaking of looking like shit over and over and over, I'm going to speed up and get to the good part. Actually, the good bad part. Renee Moxley Good was in the back with the AEW mascot, our little puppy Pockets, and his partners were not here due to travel issues, so he found some local guys to fill in for him. More on that in a moment. And then Renee Moxley Good was in the back with Hangnail Page, who did more of his growly, dramatic overacting. Sometimes underacting.
You know what one of the babyface used to say to him? Hey, have a drink.
Yeah, yeah.
You used to be a lot more calm.
Yeah, you were really laid back then. Now you're just growling and everything. But you heard Page called his doctor last week. Said, Doctor, I just swallowed a whole bottle of sleeping pills. What do I do? And his doctor said, have a few drinks and get some rest.
Oh, that's awful. You see, you have to take us right down to the gutter.
Well, speaking of the gutter, we got to the 9 o'clock hour, and they're trying to get ratings. So they try to get ratings by having Jim Ross sit down with Swerve Strickland about Bryan Danielson. And Brian, I'll let you expand on this. Was this the most boring sit-down interview from an interviewer and an interviewee and an overall viewer perspective that you have ever seen? Swerve Strickland is either a pleasant heel or a disinterested babyface. What the fuck was going on here?
The more Swerve talks, the less I want to see him or hear him talk, certainly. Nice to see Jim Ross on the show. Even with everything.
Maybe they'll give him something to do next time.
Even with everything that's going on with him health-wise, I would still rather have him on commentary than Excalibur or Shivani right now. But 9 o'clock hour, which was interesting place to put this.
Two guys sitting there talking to each other calmly with one basic camera shot.
And it went a little while. I mean, the thing is, I think they recognize they need to do something to get Swerve. I mean, now he's kind of a heel again, but back to where he was. But the more he talks, I think he does harm to himself.
Well, he is back to where he was before he got over. He's back to being fucking just bleh. Because he got over as a babyface by being a heel that terrorized babies, and then he quit terrorizing the babies, and everybody just fucking prison raped him, in every week after he won the title. And then the people stopped cheering for him as much, and now are they trying to turn him heel again? Because in this sit-down, he was kind of either way, and then at the end of the show, he came out and did a heel promo. But now they're not reacting at all, are they? Except for Swerve's house, because everybody likes to chant.
I think people are starting to dread when that music hits, because, even the music itself, you listen, it's just so... what are they seagulls that it's supposed to sound like? Wah, wah, whatever the fuck's happening there at the beginning. As soon as you hear that, you're like,
from Seattle.
Oh, maybe. No, I'm kind of sick of Swerve right now.
Well,
is Danielson going to get the belt?
Oh, good Lord. When we get there, hold on. When we get there, we have to cross another hurdle first, because the mascot Pockets came out and brought out the local guys that he had found to have the 6-man with Rush and Roderick Strong and Rigor Mortis against. And it was FTR. FTR now. They could have stayed in the WWE and worn the clown outfits, and at this point it wouldn't have been this embarrassing. Can you deny that if they'd have just stuck with it for a couple of years through Vince getting out of the way, that maybe by now they'd be better off than they are, being reduced to having to team with this imbecile?
They're very happy. They could put food on the table for their families, and they love wrestling. They love wrestling, and they love being able to put food on the table for their families. So naturally,
what kind of
naturally food? WWE, you wouldn't be able to afford food for your family.
No, they're on gruel up there, from what I understand. So it was a choice of working for the WWE and having the family starve to death, or working for AEW and teaming up with a fucking bad joke and being the laughing stock of the goddamn tag team world when you're formerly the best at it. Gotcha.
They got the contracts they wanted. Now they're going to be good team players, and they're going to do everything they can while they're still there to be good team players. And then eventually, one day down the road, they'll tell the truth.
Well, this match started, and almost 20 minutes later, Rush, the heel, was beating up both members of FTR by himself, the faces, until the other face, the mascot, came in and hit Roman Reigns' finish on Rush, the Superman punch, and then FTR hit their finish on Rush, 1, 2, 3. So not only did the company mascot have to save the actual wrestlers, but the baby faces had to 3-on-1 the heel to beat him. So whoever's doing these finishes is fucking brilliant. Fucking brilliant. Anything about the match before we talk about what happened next, and you can help me try to understand that?
I mean, I don't know what else to say about the match. It's, I'll just say, based on feedback we have seen from listeners in every way they get in touch with us, and seeing feedback from people who are not listeners of the show, just general wrestling fans on social media, I think FTR burned out a lot of their fans. And again, it's, one thing when you talked one way, and then you got your contract, and all of a sudden now you're seemingly a different person. I think a lot of people...
You're talking out of both sides of your neck, like the Ernie the Big Cat Lad would say, is what you're trying to tell me.
It's overwhelming, the response to everything they do. I think Dax did another promo on Collision, or at least I saw it on social media. I didn't listen to it. I just saw that it was going around because everyone started sending it to us. The rah-rah, I love AEW because of this, and this, and I have a family, and every time he does that, he loses fans. Every single time he does that, people are like, I don't want to hear this fucking guy anymore.
Because the people that were predisposed to like FTR were predisposed to like them because they were actual legitimate professional wrestlers, and they were not part of this clown show, this dog and pony operation. And when they go out there and not only full-fledged, full-throatedly endorse it, but cooperate with it and team up with the poster boy for why people don't like it, then it runs their fans off. Here's a question, and we'll move on to what happened next. But in AEW, we've seen it happen with a variety of people that suddenly the fans will start cheering for them and like them, and they'll really be over with the people. It happened with FTR. We talked about Swerve, a variety of people. And then, for whatever reason, generally rotten booking, the time passes and they're not over anymore. My question to you is, can you think of anybody in the WWE that once they really get over, that they stay long enough or are booked in such a way that they go back to being as not over or even less over than they were before they got over?
It's an AEW thing. Where's Wardlow? It's an AEW thing. He got over bigger than anyone in the company.
Yeah.
He now has to do it again if he wants to do anything there. So I think that's a problem with AEW. It's a problem with the booking. And the wrestlers who defend that booking and defend Tony Khan's handling of the booking are fucking fools. And everyone laughs at them because you can't defend that. Tony Khan is incompetent as a booker, short-term, long-term, in terms of coherent storylines, in terms of good formatting, in terms of hitting time. Anything. He's horrible at it. He's wonderful at paying people. You can't take that away from him. His check's clear. And you can work for him, but don't pretend like he knows what he's doing. And again, FTR, Wardlow, there are more and more examples, people that got over, and then I don't even know how to explain it. They get sucked right down like there's some kind of fucking vortex. Well, I don't want to use vortex. Copyright
don't
Jericho.
Don't say it. It's trademark. That's
right.
Copyright. Well, anyway, explain this one to me then. After FTR...
The Acclaimed.
Yes, after FTR and their bosom buddy there, 3-on-1 the heel to beat him, the Acclaimed come out and Caster tries to start talking and his mic won't work. It's dead. And then Dax gets on the microphone and says, we don't want to hear you, and the people here don't want to hear you. Well, the people always want to hear him. Isn't that their gimmick? They want to hear Max Caster?
Yeah.
Well, apparently not.
Usually that's the highlight of their match, actually.
Yes. So I'm right. Who are the baby faces here? Why? And then Dax tried to start saying something and fumbled it up so bad he said, fuck it, I'm not good with words. We're grown men. Let's just fight. So he just said, fuck it. He actually said, hell with the promo. I fucked up the promo. Let's just fight. And then the two babyface teams have a pull apart, another pull apart on this show. Why are they mad?
That I don't think that was explained, actually. It seemed like they had a little bit of a history. It's just I don't think we've seen it or know it.
Well, but then FTR, they said something about the Buckaroos and the tag team. Who are the tag team champions now? Is it still the Buckaroos?
It's the Young Bucks, who have not had a single tag team title defense, I don't think.
Okay, well they're gonna wrestle FTR at Wembley, I thought. Well, is the Acclaimed mad at FTR because the heels are wrestling them, so they're going to fight the fucking babyface?
You get a three-way.
Right.
You can get a three-way match out of it.
Oh, good fucking God.
You know, again, that's another thing. And we could talk about how badly the trios division fucked up the tag team division as, you know, whatever state it was in at that point. But what AEW was all about, they were going to have a tag team division. It was going to be a strong tag team division. Look at that. The tag team division now is worse than WWE's. And they don't even have one in WWE, really.
I can't argue with you.
The state of the tag team division. The Bucks, who are not over as baby faces or heels, are the tag champions. They're not even on the show right now. FTR.
Not that we're complaining.
FTR, this is the first time I think we've seen FTR on Dynamite in a while, right? They're usually on Collision. They're usually a Saturday night tag team. The Acclaimed are starting to at least do something different. And you got to appreciate that, because I felt like their act was starting to get a little tired. Although I don't know about Max Caster announcing himself as the greatest wrestler who ever lived. I don't know what the hell that's about. But then after that, who? Top Flight, they're dead. Private Party, they're dead. The Hardys, they're gone. Lucha Brothers, they're about to leave. Who are the tag teams there? They've killed their tag team division.
Taven and Bennett, who we never see.
Taven and Bennett, yeah.
Who at one point could have been pushed as a serviceable heel tag team until they degenerated into comedy fodder for Kyle.
So yeah, it's important to know, because AEW is all about appreciating tag team wrestling, even if you're like, that's crazy. This is nothing like what I like in tag team wrestling. They tried something. It's done. Their tag team division's dead right now.
Well, but hologram will save us. When criminals in this world appear and break the laws that they should fear and frighten those who see and hear, the cry goes out from far and near for hologram, hologram. That was a cool video they did, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they went from like wrestling to, I would almost say time travel, but it didn't look like any time travel I'm familiar with.
The ones that you conduct in your time travels didn't have the same sound effects. I don't think he went anywhere.
No.
Speaking of not going anywhere, Camille, who is now another new talent with some potential that's not... There's no preconceived notions of her amongst a mainstream national television audience because she's been in the NWA. Nobody's seen her. And she has to be hooked up with the absolute worst talent in female wrestling today, Mercedes Moon. Can we say that she is the female equivalent of Pockets in this company now?
Oh, I don't know if I would go that far. At least,
oh, come on.
I don't know.
Explain one good promo, one good performance, one anything that she has done since she has come here and taken this Mark's money, besides go out there and do rotten fake promos with bad acting, have rotten matches, and get people to go, oh, fuck, not her again. Let me drive 10-penny nails into my testicles instead of watch this.
She does good moves in the ring.
She does?
That's what I hear.
I don't remember seeing any. So Camille, in a handicap match, 2 against 1, beat Susie and Hoosie. And then Mercedes did the promo, and nobody gave a shit about their CEO. They want their CEO to go away. And poor Camille, and then after she recited the line, this is why I'm even talking about this now, because otherwise nobody'd give a shit. But she recites the lines about Britt Baker, and then Tony Schiavone says, excuse me, Tony Schiavone reveals what?
Let me just say, you said she recites the lines about Britt Baker, that Britt Baker is suspended by her EVPs.
Well, yes. I'm sorry, I was going to cover that here in the question I'm about to ask, but yes, her EVPs have suspended Britt Baker But then Tony Schiavone in the back reveals that Christopher Daniels has told him that Tony Khan has told him that Tony has overruled the Elite and reinstated Britt Baker. Whereas the Elite suspended Britt Baker, Tony Khan has overruled them and reinstated her. So, help me, Brian. Then why doesn't Tony Khan just overrule all the crooked shit that the Buckaroos have been doing, that have been coming out of the effete EVP locker room? If he can do it for one, he can do it for all, can he? Then why are we subject to this?
Yeah, it makes no sense. And again, remember, the Bucks beat him up. That's like been forgotten about. They beat him up. They're still allowed to do whatever they want, except now it's been established he can overrule them. We were told they had ironclad contracts, which meant they couldn't be fired, but also they could just run wild. And then all of a sudden now, that's not the case.
They're overruled. And they're not sustained, Your Honor. They're overruled. Objection, you're overruled. So this makes no sense. They drop the guy on his head. Then they go on a campaign of running roughshod over the company and making up their own rules. And they fire Chris Daniels, and then Tony brings him back and makes him his spokesman. And I guess Chris Daniels gets to be the one to run from the gorilla position over to Tony Schiavone and whisper in his ear, "Hey, Tony just said this." But who's running this fucking thing? Everybody is fucking the dog and nobody's holding its head. That's why you're not getting the satisfying experience of full dog fucking.
Well, again, I don't know if I would use that talking about Tony Khan. He gets very sensitive, apparently, when talking about
I was talking about Britt Baker and these guys. That's who's involved here. Because then Britt Baker popped up on the screen to cut a promo on Mercedes Moan, and that was very lengthy. And she apparently Britt got a nice makeup artist in her new contract comeback, though, because her hair was flawless. It was looking wonderful.
Yeah, I used to think she was skinny. Now she's wearing like 8 pounds of makeup.
Well, they put it on with one of those things the trowel that you spread mortar when you're trying to build a brick wall, which is what she's doing. She's building a wall around the women's division so that nobody can come in unless they come through her pearly gates.
Her locker room, yeah.
Yeah, get out of my locker room. Anyway, you ready for the main event, kid?
Oh, that wasn't the main event? Yes, let's go to the main event.
No. I wanted to see this. Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Jarrett. But the problem is, as I mentioned before, they set the match up. If you just said Bryan Danielson's going to wrestle Jeff Jarrett, I'd say, hey, I want to see that. I think that'll be fucking good, right? Two professionals. But Tony Khan got a hold of it. And so a few weeks ago, Jeff came in and gave Bryan Danielson a babyface pep talk. And the promo was so good, they say it was the talk of the internet. And Jeff was a firm babyface, blah, blah, blah. And he was trying to pump Danielson up to go win the match against Swerve at All In at Wembley. And then last week, after Danielson had his match, what they do last week, I've forgotten already.
Danielson last week beat... Who did he beat last week? Hold on, I got my...
He beat somebody.
He beat on AEW Dynamite. It was Danielson. He did a promo, and he was confronted by Swerve.
And then he went back and he yelled at Jeff. He was mad at Jeff.
That's
what it was. Point is, he's mad at Jeff last week for trying to give him a pep talk. So he said, well, let's see if you can tell how ready I am next week. So now instead of having a match where Jeff is trying to motivate and bring out the best in Bryan Danielson and maybe waltz him across Texas a little bit before he has the big match at Wembley Stadium, they have an anything goes match so that Jeff can do the same thing. And because they're apparently in North Carolina is the only reason given, Ricky Steamboat is going to be there to see it. and do
Texas
color
Deathmatch
commentary
legend Ricky Steamboat, whatever. Whatever the rules were. No DQ legend.
Anything goes. No disqualification match legend Ricky Steamboat will be there because he lives in the state. And so the fucking whole thing is you've already established Jeff as a babyface, and they could have had a match, but instead they got to have the garbage wrestling, the anything goes, and they got to fuck it all up. And they got to make it stupid and meaningless and silly. So from the time that Danielson comes out of the entrance, Jeff comes from behind and whacks him with the guitar, and the guitar didn't break. But then Jeff threw it down and broke it in a million pieces. And Jeff is going to prepare Bryan Danielson for Wembley Stadium in a world title match by ending his career. By crippling him. Within the first minute, they go into the arena and up in the stands. I really wanted to see, as I said, them wrestle each other, not Jeff get this guy ready for another match by trying to hospitalize him. They go out in the breezeway and they fight with garbage cans. And they're surrounded by fans, smart fans out there that are just laughing. They're not caring which guy gets beat up. They just want to see these guys take stupid bumps. And they stay up there forever. And then they go to picture in picture and they fight back down the stairs. And when they come back from the break, they're in the ring, but then they go out on the floor. And then when they get back in the ring, Jeff is trying to Pillmanize Danielson's leg. He's got a chair around his fucking ankle and he's going to go to the top and jump off and break his fucking leg to try to get him ready for the world title match in 2 weeks. And then finally, Danielson hits the running knee with a chair in front of it and knocks Jeff out 1, 2, 3, and apparently really did because he busted Jeff's chin open with the fucking chair. For what? I couldn't wait for this to be over. Jeff gets his chin busted open with a chair for no reason in a garbage match that made no sense. And it was the most flimsiest reason ever given for existing. And then Yuta gets in to check on fucking Danielson, and Steamboat gets in, and Karen and Lethal get in to check on Jeff. And they stand up and shake hands and hug each other. And then they all leave, and Swerve comes out, and now he's a heel. And he cuts a promo on Danielson, said, I'm going to end your career. And next week, you just had a warm-up match. Well, I'm going to have a warm-up match, and I'm going to beat up your boy Wheeler Yuta there. Are we allowed to cheer for none of the above in a match? Can we just say we don't like any of these people? They're all heels. They have no redeeming features. They turn on all of their friends. We just want to boo everyone.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what you're going to do here. At Steamboat on commentary at one point, I forget what it was, maybe the figure 4 or something, he said, yeah, that shoot hurts.
Yeah, that hurts for a shoot.
If that hurts for a shoot, what does everything else in the wrestling match feel like?
It only hurts for a work.
I don't know what this was. I don't know why. I thought they were just going to wrestle, and then all of a sudden it was a stipulation. And the Steamboat. And Swerve, again, the more Swerve is on the mic, the less I want to see him. He had a lot more mystique when he didn't talk so much.
You talk too much and you never shut up. You talk too much. Whoa, you talk too much.
Are they going to put the belt on Danielson?
I wouldn't be surprised because Tony is insane. Tony Khan is such a basement mark, and I say that in the worst possible meaning. He is the epitome of the stereotype characteristic that a lot of people put on wrestling fans, that they're fucking complete socially awkward misfits that futz around in their goddamn mother's basement eating Pop-Tarts and fucking playing the computer and fantasy booking. And that's the kind of person that would put the belt on Danielson. He's fucking quitting. He is not going to wrestle full time. He has announced that before. You were already stupid enough to put your World Tag Team title on Sting so he could retire with that, and it's never recovered, as we were just mentioning a little while ago. And now you're going to bury further Swerve that was over and has now been booked into by beating him with a guy that's going to wrestle a few times a year or whatever from then on, and possibly not even exclusively for you. But because of what Bryan Danielson means to wrestling and to all the fans, it would be a heartwarming moment if he were to win that title. Yeah, it'd be a heartwarming moment for a mark with too much money and not enough sense.
Well, that was AEW Dynamite. The road to Wembley is paved with daddy's dollars. But we shall return shortly.
He's a rich kid, and he's gone too far, but you know it don't matter anyway. 'Cause he can rely on old Shad's money. He can rely on old Dad's money.
We're playing two different songs.
It's a bitch, boy. And you know you can't book anyway.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, our apologies on many levels. We shall return after time travel with the AEW Dynamite ratings. All right, a little bit different ending than I anticipated, but we are in the future. That was the sound of time going by at some level.
Whipping by our ship. Where were you when Kubrick did 2001 that you couldn't have scored that film?
Well, I wasn't born yet, but I don't know if I would have worked well with him. What do you think of the two astronauts currently stuck in space? The anticipation is now maybe they can return home in early 2025. Boeing, as if they didn't have enough problems here on Earth. They can't get these astronauts home. There was some kind of, again, I don't know all the details, but failure with the ship or the mission to get them home. And now they just have to hope and pray they can get them back on the next ship that goes up in 2025.
Well, I try to work up empathy, sympathy, a warm feeling in my heart for people who go to the depths of the ocean in the fucking contraption, or that the astronauts going to other galaxies and planets and everything. But then again, what the fuck? What do you, it's not hopping on Interstate 65 to buzz down to Nashville for, some Hattie B's hot chicken. You're out in outer fucking space. I would think that it would, it's like when people say, oh, he was killed in a skydiving accident. As far as I'm concerned, it should be an accident if you jump out of a fucking plane with a sheet tied to your back and live. So I appreciate the fine work that they're doing to further scientific study. And when I was a kid, I loved astronomy. My mom got me the telescope, had all the Time Life books. But I didn't want to go. I wanted somebody else to go and bring me back pictures. Tell me what the shit looked like. Figure some shit out that we can apply down here. But I never had the urge to go where no man has gone before. Does that make me an odd child, Brian?
Well, at this point, many men have gone where they've gone. It's not like they're in outer space. They're at the space station.
Well, but still, in the overall scheme of things, of the percentage of the human race that's been to outer space and gone to a space station or walked on the moon or whatever the case, it's still minute. And if I have my way, I'll keep it that way, at least from my participation.
What do you think of the people that pay hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to fly briefly out of orbit so you get the no gravity sensation and then you come right back down?
Well, see, I don't want the no gravity sensation. That's why I don't want to get in a goddamn airplane. Have you ever been in the fucking the turbulence, even the turbulence, but the air pocket and it fucking drops. That's enough zero gravity for me that I don't want anymore. I don't do things at the fair that cause me to turn upside down. I want to stay close to the ground at a reasonable speed, observing safety precautions upright.
All right.
But anyway, that's the thing is that I don't understand the people that just want to dive off the things or do whatever. But you asked about the people paying. If you've got millions of dollars to spend on something that's a hobby, bless you. Maybe take care of some sick kids. William Shatner, I can understand. What is he, 94 now or whatever?
Something like that, but to be fair, his hair is only 35.
Well, but so the average is still, he's averaging out to 70 or whatever. If he's lived this long and still is ambulatory and can just hop in the fucking spaceship and take a flight to outer space, then bless his little pea-picking heart. Because if something happens at this point, what's he shaving off of his lifespan?
Do you think we'll get a wrestling match in space in your lifetime?
Only if the astronauts get mad at each other while they're cooped up there by themselves.
Well, Jim, speaking of things that go up and down, the AEW ratings are in. Jim, here they are, the AEW ratings for August 7th, 2024, TBS, 8 to 10:05 p.m. On average, AEW Dynamite watched by 622,000 viewers.
Ouch! So
that's up 2% from last week.
Up 2%. So they're really on a roll here. For context, they're in their regular time slot on their regular network, and they drew approximately 32 or 3% of what Raw did on a completely different station that is not usually on.
But again, the Olympics.
Did they have Olympics on Monday?
I think so, but I don't think it was as prestigious.
They were different Olympics?
It wasn't as prestigious as the Wednesday night Olympics.
So what? Lithuania was sweeping the fucking medal race on Monday and nobody cared. What?
I think Wednesday was a big one. It was Lithuania versus Vanderpump.
Did Vanderpump win? I've been pulling for him.
We don't hear about Vanderpump anymore, do we?
It wasn't bad. Perhaps they stopped pumping.
I think they moved to Tuesdays against NXT, but we never hear anyone complain about NXT's numbers in Vanderpump. But let's go to this.
All right, 622,000 people for this fiasco. Let's move forward.
These were compiled by WrestleNomics, quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. MJF versus Kyle Fletcher, 822,000 viewers.
Okay, I'm no mathematician here. I'm not fucking, a Rhodes Scholar when it comes to algebra or anything like that, but I see them headed for a fucking drop. If their average is 200,000 viewers lower than what they started with, but do go on.
Quarter 2, the continuation of MJF versus Fletcher, the post-match with Will Ospreay and Don Callis, the Bryan Danielson promo, Mariah May versus Viva Vaughn, with picture-in-picture, 732,000 viewers.
Okay, well, there went 100,000. And as we usually say, and it more or less is always true, the second quarter is where we really start, so they still looks like they got some diving to do, down like a circus seal.
Well, we go to quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m., the continuation of Van versus May, whatever her name is. The post-match with Timeless Tony Storm.
Ooh, time's up.
A Jack Perry video, an ad break. Jack Perry video, an ad break. Darby Allin backstage promo. Ed Katsuyori Shibata versus Brian Keith.
Ship-poopy, ship-poopy, ship-poopy.
626,000 viewers.
Oh, mother of all creatures, big and small. So that's another 206,000 viewers bailed in the first 45 minutes.
Well, we go to quarter four, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The continuation of Shapoopy versus Keith, the post-match with the Learning Tree, and the return of Hook, Orange Cassidy's backstage promo, an ad break, and Hangman Adam Page's backstage promo. 587,000 viewers.
Holy shit. All right, to 13, 20, there goes 39,000. So now they're down. I'm trying to keep a running total, but there's so many numbers on the paper. 206, let's start 245,000. And when you hear the contents of those segments read out like that, you can kind of understand why, can't you?
Well, we go to the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter five, 9 to 9:15 p.m.
I'm no mathematics expert. I think they actually got to pick some up at this point to make the average.
Swerve Strickland's backstage interview with Jim Ross, and Roderick Strong, Roosh, and the Beast Mortos versus FTR and Orange Cassidy with picture-in-picture. 587,000 viewers.
So they stayed completely flat at the top of the hour. That's not usually a thing that's done. But they done did it.
Well, we go now to quarter six, the big 9:15 segment.
The big nine.
The continuation of the previous six-man tag match with picture-in-picture ads, the post-match with the Acclaimed, the Patriarchy's backstage promo, and an ad break. 564,000 viewers.
Holy free, holy. Okay, they're 6, 4, 8, 4, 23,000. So that means they've lost 268,000 from 8 p.m. Okay.
Well, we go to quarter seven, the big 9:30 to 9:45 segment. A hologram video.
Well, now we're going back up. Now they've saved it.
Camille versus Clara Carter and Jasmine Howe. Mercedes.
Get out of the way for Clara Carter. She's a smelly, smelly farter. Okay, go ahead.
Mercedes Monet's promo followed by Britt Baker's promo. They tried to make it sound like Britt Baker's promo was live. That was clearly taped, right?
Well, it was on the screen, and it was...
There was no interaction.
There was no interaction back and forth. It was a statement, and it was very well lit. Remember, I said the makeup was wonderful, so I thought they probably worked on that one for a while.
Followed by the Danielson Strickland video and an ad break. 576,000 viewers. Also, the biggest bump up in the key demo from 236,000 to 263.
But see, hologram, we were wrong. Hologram is they got 6, 4, 7, 12,000 people. So now they're only down 256,000 from the open.
I'm starting to think AEW's audience is a hologram, but let's go now to quarter eight.
You can see through a lot of them.
And I remind you, we have a 7-minute overrun. Quarter eight, 9:45 to 10 p.m. Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Jarrett with picture-in-picture. 535,000 viewers.
Oh, good Lord.
7-minute overrun with Swerve Strickland and Danielson's confrontation after the match. 516,000 viewers.
Oh, they lost on the overrun. Have they ever lost on the overrun?
It's happened a few times, yes. But this was for them, this was a show-long build to this match.
And Danielson. They didn't even, holy, well, hold on, let me do the 41. So that, then they were down 297. Carry the 2, divide by 3, that's a double naught. And then they're down another, 6 to 19. So You got to save that over there. 7 divided by 13 is 21.
And by the way, just so you know, Big Bang Theory this week, 851,000 total viewers on average.
Ooh.
I don't have the key demo, but I have that.
So AEW did 29,000 less viewers than the lead-in from 7:30 to 8, which is a rerun of a situation comedy that's rerun 5 nights a week everywhere in the world. And they started with 822,000. They finished in regulation down 297,000 viewers, and their overrun cost them another 19,000 for a total loss of 316,000 from start to finish. Brian, I'm no mathematics expert, but what percentage of 822,000 is 316? I never asked this question the same way twice, do I? What percentage of their audience did they lose?
You never make it easy, no.
No, well, nobody said it was easy, baby.
So give me the numbers.
This is the rough, tough world of podcasting.
Give me the rough, tough numbers.
We got to do mathematics. Sometimes we got to spell.
God damn
it.
Shit. S-H-I-T.
All right. So you start with 822,000.
Okay, hold on. I got to go the other way. 822,000.
And you end up with 516,000, which means you've lost 306,000.
What are you asking? What is the question? You're just throwing all sorts of numbers.
What percentage of their audience they started with did they lose by the end of it? So it's 3. So 516 from 8. They lost 306,000.
They lost.
That's what they lost.
62.77%.
No, that can't be right.
Oh no, that's what percentage of 820.
They kept
such a
Well, see, you got to be able to fucking follow along here when I'm doing this integral calculus.
Give me the 300 number again that you came up with.
306,000 is what they lost. So they lost 38% of their audience, is what you're saying.
37.22 is what I'm saying.
Well, to be precise.
I wouldn't round up on that. That would become 37, not 38.
Well, then in that case, and we'll go with it as it is. So they lost almost 40%. Almost 4 out of 10 people that started watching this thing at some point or another said, oh, God damn it. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know, and once again, a lot of people are ignoring the harsh realities, which are AEW has very limited star power because of the booking. AEW has burned a lot of fans because of the booking. You invest in a wrestler, sometimes they're just gone. There are wrestlers they have tried to make, they have to make them again because they've fucked it up, because Tony can't book.
The wrestlers they pick to make and continue to try to make and make and make that don't ever get made.
It's a bad show featuring a lot of people that fans don't care enough about. MJF's the one guy, and Ospreay's in limited exposure so far, but MJF's the one guy they got who's doing any business, but MJF could right now work a program with Ricky Steamboat and have the greatest matches ever. It won't matter. The long-term damage of Tony's booking. This isn't just like all of a sudden, oh, shit's really gotten bad. This is the end result. Or, getting to the end result, but this is what happens when you book a show like shit for years, when you feature people that fans don't care about for years, when you double down and triple down on things that don't work for years. This isn't just all of a sudden. MJF used to be able to pop it a lot better. It's not just because people stopped getting cable. It's because the people that have cable stopped watching AEW. And there's people who pretend, oh, it's because WWE's hot. Yeah, they're doing good wrestling TV shows. It works. What they're doing is working. AEW stopped working because of Tony, because Tony can't book, but he's insistent on booking because this is all his project. And who in AEW means more today than it meant yesterday? Who? Who's still a draw? Who still matters? The people there that making all the money, amongst them, who really generates money and matters? They had Bryan Danielson, who's about to get a world title match. Has he ever meant less on a national stage since he was in Ring of Honor? Because he's not doing any business. No one tuned in at the end for this Jarrett thing. Technically, they built this up for weeks. Technically, they built this up for the show.
Technically, they were friends 2 weeks ago.
Again, that's AEW storytelling. It's bad. It lacks. But they've been building it up. No one cared. Whatever was happening at the Olympics, no one said, let me just check to see what's going to happen with that match. No one. AEW has driven themselves into the ground. Tony has booked himself into the ground. There's a lot of people who get along with Tony or want to get along with Tony who won't come out and just say the flat out truth that everyone knows, that everyone quietly will say, unless they'll outwardly say it like we do. Tony can't book. He can't run a company and he can't book. And AEW is in the situation they're in now because of Tony, because of stubbornness, because of bad decisions. The people that thought MJF should have gotten suspended too after the Britt Baker thing. Maybe Tony learned his lesson about fucking with your top draw because someone who doesn't matter on the show has a problem with them.
Somebody should get suspended because they gave somebody a piece of their mind for running their pie hole.
But it's just,
that would be lovely.
You still see the excuses.
You missed one point there. This was also a situation where, while all those things that you just enumerated were going on, where they started with was Tony had a company that the people wanted to love, that they wanted to support, that they wanted to see succeed, that they were overly smoking the hopium about because of the fact that they hated the other company because it was mismanaged and creatively and morally bankrupt or whatever the fuck, and they had heat with the fans. And Tony has taken this golden opportunity, and while he's driven his product headfirst into the porcelain throne, they have brought in a fucking pest control service and eradicated most of the pestilence over to the other place, and the people love him now. So he lost that opportunity because he dicked around doing this. He had 5 years. And they completely turned their PR around and completely turned their creative around and completely turned their talent roster around. And so did Tony. In opposite directions. I rest my case, Joanna.
But you still see the excuses. It's the competition, it's the Olympics, it's WWE being hot. It's Tony. WWE being hot does not mean that AEW can't book or can't format good. The formatting, to just look at the fucking ratings breakdown quarter by quarter. How many backstage promos were thrown into this show? How many matches with people that no fan is invested in whatsoever? Shibata, they have shoved Shibata down everyone's fucking throat. No one cares. No one cares. Remove his brain. Maybe someone will care. No one cares about Brian Keith. No one cares about the Jericho thing. He's driven away enough audiences as it is. No one cares about anything Danielson's doing. No one cares about the world champion, although give him credit, his big 9 o'clock hour held the 587 number. They've got MJF and nothing else. They went right from the MJF stuff right to the women's division, and you saw the audience drive right down, and then it kept going down. The only thing that could have driven it down further is if they had had the Elite all over this show. That's the only thing. And they're not even on this show right now. They're collecting their paychecks that they can't earn because they don't mean anything to the company. It's a sinking ship that will never sink. And I think anyone there with any talent or a brain, you have to look at other options unless you find out that there is some option for AEW that doesn't have Tony Khan running the show. It's chaos. The TV shows are formatted bad. It's booked bad. The commentating is world-class awful. And nothing is getting better. And they're taking the people that matter and making them mean less. Horrible show. It's amazing this number is this high.
And now we have rechristened AEW. From this point forward, it will be known as the Flying Dutchman, the ghost ship that will never sink. It's out there in the ether, haunting the ocean.
Oh my God, there's water coming in. No, everything's great. Oh, all right. We'll just sail along. Let the water
getting
come in.
deeper.
Yeah.
Do you know how to swim? No, but I'll be all right. Have you ever driven in America before? No, but we'll be all right.
Hey, that hole in the boat is so big the talent are swimming out of it. What do? I just keep going forward. Keep going to Shad Island.
Wait a minute, my pet rat just jumped overboard. What should I do?
I'm going to leave that one to you. I'm not going to make any comment on the pet rat of whoever's driving the ship.
All right, anyway.
Those are the Dynamite ratings. You would have to think if you were Shad Khan, you may want to say, where's my money? Tony, you're my son, but I'm going to sue.
You know, I'll tell you what. It is certainly a legal situation developing here. There's going to be somebody at liable for this catastrophic failure. And when that happens, when you find out who you blame, who is liable, who is responsible, and you want to bring them to heel, as they say, you want to make them pay and pay big, you might want to make them cry. You might want to make them start stripping off their clothes like they're at a nudist colony. They're sweating. They're sweating like hookers in church. I'm telling you that they might need sugar in their bloodstream to carry on. You want to see this man in action as he cross-examines the guilty and brings the perpetrator into justice.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. An outlaw mud show or two. Go to the rest.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the law office of Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. If you want to get in contact with him because you've got a perpetrator on the prowl, you've got somebody who's been negligent, who's been cruel, inhumane, and crossed the lines of civil courtesy, and they need to be brought in and made to explain themselves and potentially recompensate you. See, that's Stephen P. New gets you so much money, you have to add syllables onto the words. You'll be recompensated for things that you have lost, and people will be forthcoming in doing it, or elsewise they will suffer the wrath of having to turn over records of their entire lives and everything they've ever done. Because he'll haul it all out and shine the bright disinfectant of sunlight on their nefarious backroom dealings, and they're playing fast and loose with not only their bookkeeping but the legal system as well. And he might alert government authorities if people have been engaging in improper conduct. That's all things that this man is going to do to a no-good Weasley son of a gun.
He may cut off your chocolate supply.
He may cut off your chocolate, pal. And then how would you feel? You know, it's all because Stephen P. New will give a man one chance to do the right thing, and then he will fuck him up. And if you've got somebody you'd like to see fucked up, and you can prove something, well, by golly. Now, Stephen doesn't do unauthorized fucking people up, unless you've got a case now. It just can't be just because you want to get even. But boy, howdy, he will bring the legal system down on anybody that has screwed you around. 877-50-STEVE, newlawoffice.com.
You have never seen anything like him deposing someone. It makes you feel really good to have him on your team. I'll say that.
It makes you feel really good to know that there is a beacon of truth and light out there in the world, even if that beacon is only about 5 feet 7 inches tall. He don't have to bend over far to take a bite out of your ass.
I don't know why you had to bring up his height. What the hell was that about?
Because he's a bulldog, is what he is.
He's a coal miner's son.
I was born a coal miner's son.
All right, Loretta, let's move on here with the show.